So I'm Katarina, I'm Bob's partner.
Good morning, I'm Uli, and I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful, Christina. Julia. Linda.
Shanti.
Chris. Martin. Chris.
Sean.
Jim.
Natalia.
Cal.
Tiny.
Saroja.
Andy. Tibor. Ross.
Jane.
Jai.
Tess.
Dean.
Good morning to everyone, and I'm happy to be here.
That was Heyman. And Bob.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Good to see you all. For those that are new, what we talk about here is non-duality, what they call non-duality, or in Hinduism it is Advaita. Non-duality is one without a second, not two. And the 5 factors of Advaita are Satchidananda, Nama, Rupa, existence, consciousness, bliss, name and form. So I can't teach you anything, and I can't tell you anything. All I can do is point toward and ask you to look to where we're pointing to see for yourself, because that's what it's all about. It's only when you see what I'm pointing to, there's nobody that can teach you anything and nobody that can tell you anything. And the way I put it, I'm not speaking to anybody. I'm not speaking to any mind. I'm not speaking to that body-mind identity that you might think yourself or believe yourself to be. I'm speaking to that I am, that I am. And that I am is the sense of presence, which translates through your mind as the thought I am. Just to this, nothing else. So, what they call, it's a natural, absolute expression of what I call, for want of a better term, intelligence entity, the activity of knowing. I say there is only that. That is the great mantra, I am that. And that means you are that and everything is that. And that is so, because that's the chair you're sitting on, that's the room the chair's in, that's the space in the room, that's the tray, that's the flower, that's the birds, that's the planets, the stars. Everything is that which we put words on, or labels. And we point out also that the word's not the thing. How many words were you born with? And you realise you were not born with any words. So you can't remember your birth. People say they remember the birth, but how could you if you had no words to say, I was born? And you didn't pick up words till you were about 2 and a half. And I ask you right now, is anyone who is not existing? And you'll say, no, I'm existing. Anyone here who is not conscious or is unaware? No, you're conscious and you're not unaware. Anyone who's not happy to be? Well, nobody wants to be dead right now, so you are happy to be. That's the Satchidananda. You are already that. The other 2 factors, Nama and Rupa, is the body-mind. Body-mind, they say, is Maya. It's illusion. It's an illusory. It's but a vibrating pattern of energy. And there are many things in this manifestation that are illusory. We take to be real. And we've taken this body, mind, this person to be real. But they tell you, hey, the person is not reality. Where does that word person come from? Come from the ancient Latin persona, the mask. So that mask is a conceptual image we have about ourselves. Oh, I am Bob, the Australian, the good fella, or whatever, bad fella, or the unhappy fella. all the concepts are put on it, all concepts. And the Buddhists tell you in one sentence, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. There's nobody who is unaware right now. Nobody is not existing or being. So you are already that. But we haven't recognised it or haven't seen it. Some of you might have, and some of you wouldn't be looking here if you weren't interested in looking somewhere else. Ordinary religions and traditions have not been quite happy with it. They tell you you're a sinner, an evil person, you're this, that and the other. Lay all these trips upon you. And come along and investigate and recognise that you are not that. The word's not the thing, and you know that. Take the word water, see if you can drink the word. Take the word fire, see if you can cook with it. Heat yourself with it or burn yourself with it. You can't. The heat is the body temperature. It's not. So the word I or me is not what I am. That we've taken to believe, because when we didn't have any language till we were about 2.5, some of you might have been smarter and got the language a bit earlier, some of you might be not so smart and got it a bit later. But around about that age, we learnt the words from our parents fussing around us. Parents fussing around us, and we picked up the words. They tell you little Billy or little Jean or little Johnny or Jane, or whatever your name might be. If somebody asks you who you are right now, you'll say, I am little Billy, or I am Jane, or I am Bob, whatever your name might be. Instead of saying what they're pointing out, that it's the absolute, it's the great perfection, that you are already that. It's the same thing. And you can't go around telling everybody you're the absolute, or they'll put you in the funny farm. But you've got to recognise and have a look at it, investigate and see for yourself. You can't add anything to the perfect. It wouldn't be perfect if you could. You can't take anything away from perfect. It wouldn't be perfect. It's the same with absolute. You can't add anything to absolute. You can't take anything away from absolute. And recognise that I am absolute. If you do, and know it for certain and see it for certain, who can ever be superior to you if you recognise you are the absolute, and the absolute is all there is? Who can be inferior to you if you are the absolute, and everything is that? And what would you want from anybody else? So to see in that recognition and understanding, it'll take away a lot of these conceptual habits and concepts and ideas that we have about ourselves. I'm not good enough, or I'm fearful, or I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm unhappy, I'm jealous, I'm envy. All this psychological suffering will lose its sting if you recognise your true nature. And it only takes a little bit of investigation. And they tell you that also, the false cannot stand up to investigation. When you look into these patterns you have about yourself and see that they are false, they fall away. And to recognise the false as false, you must be left with truth. And they say, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's where the freedom is, in that recognising the true nature. Recognise. We think we recognise we are the cognising, but we're not. And the Buddha told us that a couple of thousand years ago. He says it's a cognising emptiness. Emptiness is form. And all these pattern shapes and forms, this manifestation, are forms. And he said the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. So it's all pattern shapes and forms, you, me, and all this manifestation are that emptiness, which is suffused with innate intelligence, energy, It has the capacity of reasoning, cognising, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, forming patterns, shapes and forms to express its true nature through. And you and I and everything else in this manifestation are patterns, shapes and forms, empty. And they tell you that the basic space of phenomena, it's a phenomenal manifestation, and it's the base of it, basic space, the base of it is emptiness. It's a cognising emptiness, a no thing. So have a look at that. Anyone who is not in space right now, you realise you're in space. Can you postulate or think of anything at all that could be out of space? Can you see any beginning to space? Can you find a beginning to space? Space is no thing. There's nowhere you can point to a beginning to it, and nowhere you can point an end to it. It has no boundaries or anything to it. No centre, no circumference, no thing. Not nothing. When we say it's nothing, we think it's zero, a vacuum and a void, nihilist. But it's no thing. It hasn't got any pattern, shape or form. All this manifestation is in patterns, shapes and forms. And you can't postulate or think of anything that can be outside of space. What would it be in? You realise there's nothing that could be outside of space. They talk about a big bang billions of light years ago or sometime. What would that have to be in? It'd have to be in space, would it? It couldn't come from no thing. It's like every other thing that appears, pattern, shapes and forms in space. So they call it a space-like awareness. And you and I and everything else in this manifestation is that space-like awareness, which is no thing. Space is everything, and you and I are things, and the birds, the bees, everything else are things. Everything is the content of space. There's nothing outside of it. And something cannot come from no thing. So when you recognise this pattern, shapes and forms we live in, they talk about living the dream. Well, you're living in the dream all right, but you don't realise it. As Nisargadatta tells you, realise you are dreaming a dream and stop looking for ways out. He says the dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. He says love all of it or none of it, and the rest will be done for you. And that's the beautiful thing. If we learn to recognise and let it go and let nature or the dream, whatever you like to take its course, it knows what to do. It brought you into existence. It's living you, breathing you, beating your heart right now. And it'll work things out for you. But we don't. We've taken on the belief we are this separate entity, this person, this body-mind entity. Well, have a look at it, investigate it. Are you the body? Well, you know that straight away, but you mightn't have recognised it when you say, my body. You say, my house, my car, my coat, my hat. You know you're not the car, you know you're not the house, the car, the coat or the hat. Well, maybe you're not the body either. And when you look at it, you realise you're not the body. What's this body made up of? You'll see it's made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just like the elements around you. Stop breathing. See how long it lasts without that air. Take the water out of your body. You die of thirst. Take the body temperature of the fire. You'd soon die. Get off the earth if you can. Get out of space. So when you investigate it, you see you are not outside of that space-like awareness. You're just another pattern, shape and form that's appearing, expressing and vibrating in it. Now, you're not the body. what about this thing called mind? It gets us into so much trouble, and you say, my mind. Well, if you believe you are this mind, show me a thing called mind. Can you think of anything at all you can say, this is mind? And you realise there's no such thing as mind apart from thought. And if you are that thought, well, have a look at that. What's your next thought going to be? And you'll realise, I don't know what my next thought's going to be. Thoughts will come up, you claim it then, but you don't know what your next thought will be. But the thought comes up, and what do you say? I think. As soon as you say, I think, you formed a subject. Me. I am thinking. And what you're thinking has become the object. So we moved away from non-duality into duality, subject-object. But can there be a thinker without thinking? There can't be. Can there be the thought without thinking? So thinking is the actuality. And thinking is just vibration. Thought, word. Thought is word. Word is sound. Sound's a vibration. A vibration's a movement of energy. So the body's a vibrating pattern of energy. The thought is a vibrating pattern of energy. This manifestation is a vibrating pattern of energy, appearing and expressing as real. But when you look into it and investigate, you see it's not real. If you go down to the ocean, you'll see a blue sea. If I say to you, get me a bucket of blue water out of the sea, what would you say? You'd say, don't be an idiot. Though it appears to be blue, you know it's not blue. The same with the sky. You see, go out on a clear day, the sky is clear, no clouds, but there's a blue canopy covering over it. And you think there's a blue sky. But if the sky was blue, sky is space. The blueness would be in this room, but it's not. You go up 50,000 feet in a plane, there'd be no blueness there. But it appears to be so. The rainbow, you go outside on a misty day, the sun shining through the mist, forming colours in the sky with a rainbow. There are no colours there. So when you look at things like that, you see that they only appear to be so. And when you start questioning this body-mind pattern and look at it, you'll see that's all it is, another appearance. You look in the mirror, what do you see? You'll see my image in the mirror or a reflection. And that's exactly what you see. Your image or a reflection. And the Nisargadatta tells you nothing can trouble you excepting your own imagination. Now break down that word imagination to image in or imagine and realise that's what we're doing. We're creating all these mental and conceptual images, take them to be real, and because of that take to be real, I am miserable, I'm unhappy, I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I'm jealous, I'm envy. All the psychological suffering about comes about because of that. And it's taken to be real. And to believe in it, it's seemingly so. So it's only me that can be fearful. It's only me that can be anxious. It's only me that can be jealous or envy. So me, this belief in the me, is the cause of all my psychological suffering. And the effects are the fear, the anxiety, the suffering itself, the anger. It's all the so-called cause and effect is. And what do they call cause and effect? Isn't it karma? What they call karma? What happens if I investigate the cause, me, and see that the me is a fiction? It's just a conceptual image I have, something that I've believed in without questioning. And I ask myself about this belief. What is the definition of belief? You look in the dictionary, the definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Means we haven't reasoned it out, we haven't worked it out in the mind, we've taken it to be real as soon as we've heard it. Why? Because our parents told us, and we believe them, and then we go to school, we learn more words, and we believe them, believe we are the separate entity, learn words ourselves and believe that, and never investigate it. An unquestioned acceptance in the absence of reason, acceptance of an alleged fact, without positive knowledge or proof. So when you put your beliefs to that test, you'll see for yourself they don't stand up to the investigation. Where does that leave you? It leaves you exactly where you are right now, present and aware, without being concerned with the mental concepts that are going on. The mental concepts, which that's all they are, the concept, a thought, an image, an idea. Look in that mirror, you see the reflection in the mirror or the image in the mirror. You can't say it's not there. But go up and try and pull the image out of the mirror. You can't say it is there. So you can't say it is, you can't say it is not. That's the same with this manifestation. It appears to be there, but when you look at it, it's not as it appears to be. So you can't say it is, you can't say it's not. So in that way, you're not stuck in one side. It's not real, or it's this, or it is real, stuck in one side to the exclusion of the other, and get locked into all the problems because of it. But if you see it's just as it is, an appearance, a seemingly pattern, shape and form. And you need to investigate, am I this body? You know, the body is just a concept you have about yourself. Well, investigate. What's this body made up of? Made up of elements, air, earth, fire and water. How did I come about? Well, go back and look at it. You came from the mother, into the womb of your mother. How did that happen? Well, go back to your father and your mother. That animating life essence, that intelligence entity, that life pattern was your father, enabled in that pattern through the essence of the food he's eaten and the breath and other intelligent functions that are going on in that pattern, to a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. You can't see it with your naked eye. But that sperm was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. And the same in your mother, that animating life essence in your mother. Enabled in that pattern a little microscopic called an egg or an ovum to form. That ovum was suffused with intelligence. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm, being full of intelligence, swam to the ovum. It knew what to do. And when those two came together and mingled, what happens? That cell doubled and redoubled and formed this little fetus, that little embryo, which is what you call yourself to do today, this body, mind. What were you doing about it then? Nothing. The same as what you're doing about it right now. But you believe you're running the show. The energy of belief has got into it. And I think this, and I believe this, and I know this. And what they're telling you in these ancient texts, to recognise your true nature. Investigate and see for yourself that you are that reality, that absoluteness, not separable or not divided, indivisible and inseparable, one without a second, the absolute. And so we try to get the answer in the mind. We think if we meditate and look into this, and meditate on this, and think of this, we'll get the answer. But the answer is not in the mind, because it's the mind that divides constantly and all the time. And they tell you that the answer is when the mind is not, when you're free of all these concepts and ideas. But the mind can be very useful, and it is very useful. But you go right into it and just believe it as other, it's also self-destructive. Because it's the mind that tells you I'm not good enough, or I'm fearful, he's better than I am, or I haven't got this or all that. Moves you out of that absoluteness into the separation of being a person. So, need to investigate these things if you move to do so, and most of us are moved to, a lot of us aren't, and a lot of us are stuck in religious traditions where you've got to do this practice and that practice, pray to this and pray to that, and go to a guru and get patted on the head or something like that done. And if you can't do it without it, but when you realise there is no other, accepting yourself, they can't do it for you, and they won't do it for you. It's only you, yourself, with a little bit of investigation, can recognise the truth. And it's knowing the truth will set you free. And Christ told you that a couple of thousand years ago when he said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about the sense of presence that expresses through the life as the thought I am, through the mind as the thought I am. That is the way, that's the truth, that's the life. Tells you in the Bible. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. That's all that God is a word, a label. All things were made by him, by the Word. And isn't that so? You've got words for everything in this manifestation. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. And that's our problem. We've taken the words to be the real and get lost in the Word, which divides and separates instead of recognise our true nature. So come back and recognise that I am that already. And that is all there is. And you know that. That's the chair you're sitting in. That's the tree. That's the room. That's the space in the room. That's the planets. That's the stars. Everything is that which we put these labels, the words on, which describe them and separate them. And to call it Sat Chit Ananda is another way for existence, consciousness, bliss is being, knowing, and loving to be. Anyone who's not being now, you'll say, no, of course I'm being. Anyone who's not knowing that, of course you're knowing that. And you're loving to be, you don't want to be dead, of course you are. So you're already that. So we call ourselves a human being. We believe in God, we'll call God the Supreme Being. What if you take away that label human? Try and take away the label supreme. Try and separate the beingness right now. Can anyone say, I am not? You can't say you're not being. And being is not becoming. If you think you do all these things, you will become something. But becoming implies a future time. And when you look into time, you'll see that time is a mental concept also. Is there a past if you don't think about it? Well, if you pause that for a minute, you realise I can't say there's a past without a thought. I can't say anything at all without a thought. Can't say a past or a future or a present without a thought. So you see that time is a mental concept. Now talk about the past, present and future. You talk about the past. Can you live in the past? Try it. Can you live yesterday? Can you live a moment ago? Or last week? Or last year? You realise you can't go back and live in the past. You can remember some of it. You can recall it. And the only thing you can recall is what time you recall it is what you're giving it at the moment. You can't tell me what you thought a moment ago unless you recall it. If you can't recall it, it's gone forever. And you've gone back to memories of past events, you got only what you could recall. The rest is gone. So past is a recollection. Future is anticipation and imagination. You can't live in the future. You can't tell me what you're going to do when you leave here, but you can anticipate and imagine what it's going to be. So that anticipation, imagination is happening presently, like the so-called past is recalled presently. What about this now, Mum, this present? Has that got any time to it? Well, I've got it right now. But hang on, that's gone. It's now again. Now has got no duration, no time. It's a throb, a pulsation, a somewhat of a movement, not a full expression. And is this immediacy, this so-called spontaneous moment. So your next thought, you know what your next thought will be. It's spontaneous. And everything is spontaneous. We don't realise. We put the time factor on it and believe. So when you're realising you are that spontaneous functioning intelligence energy and settle into it, see how life will change. You won't be bound into all these concepts, the fear, the anger, the distress, the unhappiness, the jealousy, the envy. A lot of that drop away. There'll be a spontaneous functioning in the moment. And instead of the reactivity that's going on, you react to this and react, there'll be a natural response to it. You realize that response will be quite different to the activity. The so-called fear and anger will not be labelled fear and anger anymore. They might come up as something a bit more needing to be looked in, but they won't be carried away with them, with the energy of division, patterning, shaping, forming. You realise it's the one life, the one lesson, essence intelligence, the one intelligence entity that's patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing and expressing as everything. And it's not two, it never was two. So look at that and see that it's so. Look out there right now, it's daylight. Why is that? Because the earth which rolls around the sun, this part of the earth, this side of the earth is facing towards the sun. And so it's light. The other side of the earth, which is round, is facing away from the sun, so it's dark. Do you think the earth knows anything about darkness or light? Do you think the sun knows anything about darkness or light? It doesn't. The earth will keep the roll around, it will be facing the light, and this place will be darkness. And as Shakespeare told you a couple hundred years ago, he says there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And look into that. What's the way we think? We're always thinking in the opposites. Good, bad, past, future, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative. Watch your mind and see if it's functioning, see if it's doing that. But the trouble is, instead of thinking they're two sides of the one coin, two ends of the one stick, we take them to be separate. We separate them. This is good and that's bad. What comes up, something comes up in your life, not realising that life is transient, it's changing right now, there's nothing static about it. You're breathing right now, that breath you took is a fresh and new breath. Heartbeat is a fresh and new heartbeat. It's not the same one. The thoughts and feelings are coming up, there might be old regenerated thoughts, but they're fresh and new when they come up. But we cling to them and hang on to them and make them seemingly last, and they cause all the problems. So, as Wei Wu Wei told you, why are you unhappy? He said, because everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do is for yourself. And he says there isn't one. So if you're not relating to this believed in self, this self-centre, this reference point, all that unhappiness and fear is going to drop away because there's nothing it can relate to. It's relating to the conceptual idea that there's this person there. It's not relating to that, it's just what is. So, as I say, recognise that me is the cause of all your problems and the effects. So life is living and expressing and appearing in all this dualistic pattern, but it's never moved away from its one essence, one life. And they tell you that in the scriptures also. They say there's only one self. They call it the Atman, the God self, if they like to use that term, the Atman self. And that's not a personal self at all. But we've got it split up into myself. And believing every pattern is the personal self. So we take on all the concepts and beliefs, and we live in this fear and anxiety, stress. Not much contentment or happiness there at all. And when you're caught relating to this past belief, we'll say that, and not relating to any cause, what's there without relating to a cause? There is a sense there of well-being, being well, nothing wrong anymore. Nothing wrong anymore, you're not going to be locked into it. Thoughts will come up, and as they're doing now, you see what happens. Something comes up, and I like this thought, and it's a good thought. You don't want that thought to go away, and you love it, not realising, no matter how much you love it, how much you want it to be there, it's transient, it's going to change. We don't want it to change, so what do? We resist it. What do you do when you resist anything? You're in conflict with it. And the conflict makes you fearful, anxious, depressed, guilty, unhappy. Resistance. Resistance is conflict. And conflict is fear, anxiety, stress, unhappiness. And another word for that uneasiness is disease. So there's resistance, conflict, and disease going on. What happens the other way? When the bad thought comes up. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking that thought. It's a bad thought. That's good. I'll be punished for this thought. Rah, rah, rah. And the concept goes on about it. Again, we resist it. We try to get rid of this one. So resistance. And that resistance is conflict. Again, the conflict. Unhappiness, depression, disease. So that's what our life is made up of. Resistance, conflict, and disease. It's all because of this conceptualising and thinking. And as Shakespeare told us quite plainly, nothing either good or bad but thinking makes us so. And you know that, because in many ways, as they say, stinking thinking leads to drinking, and a lot of other things. A lot of other things too. And what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it? You need to come back and recognise, and continue to recognise, question it and see for yourself. And that's what we're pointing to. And there's some of you here that know about it and can add to it and tell you about it. Some might have been just looking at it recently and have questions about it. Some of you might have doubts, question it. But those that know about it, tell us about it, because it's only, you might say something different to what I'm saying. It might resonate with somebody where what I'm saying mightn't resonate with a lot. And that's it. It's that resonation. That which is in you innately resonates or hears something and knows for certain. This is right, this is the truth. You recognise or resonate with it. And from there on, keep recognising and resonating, and it'll grow in you until it's clearly seen that you are that. It's been down through the ages, it's been lost sight of. People could, instead of seeing it, go back into the mind and trying to grasp it with the concept. But Nisargadatta tells you, we try to grasp it with the concept and we fail. And he says we're bound to fail. because it is non-conceptual awareness. It's awareness without any concept. So there's the key to it. And that's what I point to. So Kat, you can carry on for started, you can come off from there and get into it.
We just have about 20 people watching, and we only have good mornings to one and all. And Adrian says that Bob is on fire, and love you guys. That's for everyone. And having said that, it means that the mic goes to you, and everyone is invited to contribute, ask questions, or even just repeat what really touched your heart in what Bob was saying, perhaps in your own words, in your own understanding, whatever moved you in either way, whatever caused a reaction, that maybe is something to look into.
I loved what Bob said about the patterns that come up to be recognised and let go. I think that really resonated with me. The patterns come up and you go, oh, there it is, and you let them go, basically. And what it is, of course, is a pattern of reference to a me that doesn't exist. Yeah. So it's a wonderful thing when that process, if you like, becomes effortless. It's just instant awareness, and it's everything that comes up, of course, is that, and underneath is that presence that you are, that awareness that you are, that is just waiting for it to be welcomed to dissipate. That's how I see it.
Beautiful. Yeah, it is a lovely recognition that, you know, you see the pattern and you let it go. It's even less action than that. Because, and of course you can say it in many different ways, but the moment something is recognized as an object in consciousness, well, it is already let go. It is already not me doing something, being something. It is already being an object in the consciousness. I am the field of consciousness. I am the knowing. And the object of behavior or thought or reaction appears in that what I am. So let go is kind of like repeating what has already happened. So that's and it's always worthy of repeating, even though there's no one that would be doing an action of letting go, and there is no one that would be doing an action of recognizing. But recognizing happened nevertheless, just like digestion happened nevertheless. And it is all about recognizing what's already so. Recognizing that there is an existence, there is a presence, there is an awareness, there is a being. Yes, Tibor?
Yeah, it was, I don't know quite what the words were, but it was just surrendering to what is the key to it. Just like even driving here this morning, you know, traffic is always a good one, but you know, somebody cuts in front of you and that's already happened. I can be upset about it or, you know, make a big deal of it, but it's, you know, it can continue in me if I don't let go of it, but it's already happened. Most of the things we're upset about are gone, actually. And so, yeah, I'm starting to see that more clearly, I guess. It's just whatever is, and just surrender to that because it'll change anyway. Whatever you're hung up about's already gone, in a sense. So, yeah.
There it is.
And what is not what was, or what will be. It is His presence.
And on the deepest level, this is exactly what life is experiencing right now. And if you are life, you can't resist itself. So if life is experiencing someone cutting you in the traffic, and the character of Tibor resisting or clenching the teeth or whatever that is exactly the whole scene that life is experiencing and expressing at this moment. And just resting back in that life, another way of saying is completely surrendering that identity as the character and just being on the same page as life. Life is experiencing Tibor being a little bit pissed off of someone cutting the traffic. But you're not Tibor, you're not the traffic, you're not the upset. You are the presence in which the whole scene takes place.
Yeah, well, whatever my situation is, whether that's, home situation, work situation, I can get really involved in the not wanting to be there. I guess if my body gets up and moves, I'm not there. But if that doesn't happen, then I'm there. So at least, and then I need to just, if I can give up to that, then the next moment comes, a solution comes, or I'm just still there in whatever's going on without the attachment to it, which keeps you in whatever situation you're in longer than necessary. So, yeah, something like that anyway.
Yeah, there's many stories about that, Bloke in a boat, he's lying back in the boat in a nice warm day, floating along in the water, and crash. Something hits him. He jumps up and he's just about to abuse it all. He looks in the other boat, there's no one there. Or the one about the jack. But I can't tell you that one, that's a bit rough.
Why not? Of course you can, you're a sailor.
Well, a lot of people here are not. But a lot of you heard it anyway.
Okay, I want to hear that later.
No. But it says, when you see that the car, the bloke that's abused you or something, in 5 minutes he'll be half a mile ahead of you, or you'll be half a mile ahead of him. What's the point of carrying around? It's gone.
They don't even know you exist. Like
Exactly.
they're in their own world doing what they're doing, and
I've got a really cute story about that. I used to mind this autistic girl, and we're in the car one day, and I was doing my usual, diatribe about the other drivers who couldn't drive very well, and blah blah blah, and this and that. And she's a gorgeous girl, and she just burst into laughter and said, "They can't hear you, Jane." Sort of brought it all back to what is.
In the corner.
Pass the mic.
Thank you. I was just wondering, a question that I had was, with survival instincts, if there's a false identity there, are the survival instincts that you have if you're just say attacked by someone, are they still there?
The natural response will be there. You might find yourself there.
But why is that there if there's no identification with yourself?
Why is it there? Or why is the earth rolling around the sun? Why are the seasons coming and going?
Why is the heartbeat?
Yeah,
Why is the breathing?
Tides coming in and out. Breathing, heart beating, the life. It's life fashioning, patterning, shaping and forming naturally and effortlessly.
So would that be biological?
Absolutely. Like wildlife. Like you watch the documentary, I watch Cat and Dog.
Yeah.
They have self-preservation instinct inbuilt.
So wouldn't
in
then
the machine.
the society that we've created kind of cause a problem, because that idea of morality has kind of created a problem, because if you were to attack or kind of defend yourself, then that survival instinct could prove a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Well, isn't there plenty of problems in life right now?
Yeah.
Maybe there wouldn't be so many of you.
Yeah, a lot. The difference really between the human pattern and the animals, every pattern, including even the clouds and the planets and everything, has that component of Satchitananda, the reality, being, awareness of presence, and loving to be. So the self-preservation is included in it. But humans, on top of it, have the capacity to narrate a story about it. And identification sits only in that narrative. There is no identification if there is no thought. There is a sense of location in the body, but no identification that I'm the body, I'm the woman, I'm the mind, I'm Australian or Polish or whatever. That one comes only in the story. And that story, yes, it causes extra psychological suffering. That has its beautiful part as well. It joins the societies. No other animals create huge societies like that based on the shared stories of being Australians, of being humans, of being males, or whatever it is, or football supporters. But the backfire of that story is that I'm incomplete, I'm partial, I'm not good enough. I have to compete, I have to, whatever the story is.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
When Nisargadatta tells you you're dreaming all the world. You look at this, you go to sleep at night, you dream. In that dream you can be in hills, you can be on the river, you can be in the sea, in a house, anywhere at all. Doing all sorts of activities and things like that. And all sorts of feelings and everything in that dream. And all going on, you wake up, it all disappears. It might be slight but remembered. So you wake up from the dream. But you don't realise, when you wake up, all those things disappear, but you don't realise when you wake up to this dream. This is the living dream. Because every morning you wake up, it carries on from where you left off the day before. So the hills and the mountains and the places you're in don't disappear. They're still there, and the people are still there. It carries on from there. But look into it and see it's really, when you investigate it, it'll all fall apart. And that you are one with everything. Everything is that one essence, patterning, shaping and forming, displaying, appearing, and it needs pattern, shapes and forms to express her. So each pattern is a unique expression of that, what I call, for a better term, pure intelligence energy. Intelligence, the way the universe is functioning, implies it's fused with intelligence. It's not haphazard or accidental. It's happening intelligently. And any happening or movement is a movement of energy. As Einstein tells you, everything is energy. And energy is a vibration. The body broken down, the vibration of subatomic particles. The mind is sounds of vibration. Everything is that vibration, and appears to be so. Well, let it appear, let it be. If we're not avoiding it, works a lot better and a lot easier. It unfolds naturally of itself. When we separate it, we only create more patterns, shapes and forms, like which are dreamlike, but would believed to be real, and anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, all the psychological suffering comes about, all relative to the belief in a separate entity. Relativity is relationship, not just the male-female relationship, but relative to everything.
We all seem to dream different dreams, yet there's still a collective dream that, like, I can talk to you know, Ross, about something that we've both dreamed or seen, or yourself. Where's that overlap, and why is my life different to the next person seemingly, but yet we can still share so many things?
Well, that's the wondrous intelligence of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it brilliant?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. It's not just like the computer game in which you are playing only yourself and everything else is artificial. It's almost like a gaming, live gaming, where everyone has its own unique universe and they just connecting within. It's just brilliance. How is it created? You could actually see how it springs into existence by watching the projector, watching how the interpretation is imposed on anything that shows up in the perception, visual or auditory or any perception, and how that meaning making, that storytelling narrative creates the worlds. You can even see how you can create several worlds out of one little situation. You know, if you are in a good mood, the world will be your friend. If you are in a bad mood, everything will be against you. You see all of those stories, and you see how that whole dream springs into existence.
But how much of it sort of matters in the sense of, okay, like I've spent a lot of time in sort of, you know, for me it's important to try and do something about, you know, protecting nature and stopping the destruction of, you know, forest clearing and stuff like that. Yet at the same time, there's people who are quite happy to do it, and it doesn't seem to matter for them. So environmental degradation, and then you can lead that up to conflict of all sorts. So does any of it actually matter, or you just do what you do and just live the dream and that's it? And, and then it'll pass, and there was your little contribution or not.
Yes.
It takes you where you got to go.
Okay.
Why did you come here?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, because I'm here.
Yeah.
I can't say exactly why, because I've known of Bob for years, and I didn't come before, but I came when I came. Yeah.
And if you look from individual perspective, from a person's perspective, why am I moved by whatever is happening to the planet and other people can't give a shit? You know, as life, through Tibor, there is an interest in saving the planet. Through others, there may be an interest in creating a fantastic symphony. Through yet another ones, there may be an interest in saving the orphan. Life as life, you experience and express to every single channel. There will be a Mother Teresa in life, and then Hitler in life, and climate activists and climate destroyers. All of it within that shared reality or dream reality. And yes, it's not even up to you how much passion it will instill in that body. Oh, why would I care if that's all doesn't matter, if it's all a dream, I can't care less. It's not up to you, because that passion is the same life, the same energy that makes you like this particular food or music. So enjoy it while it's there, just get out of the way. Be a witnessing presence for that passion to exercise itself and create a positive change, express love, experience the whole lot. It's not up to you anyway.
That's actually true. I don't know why I made any decision in my life, because I didn't.
Yes. Yes.
It just appeared later when I must have thought of that or whatever. Yeah.
And when we
Bob is saying something.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I say when we get and start looking at it and obscuring it with all the concepts and ideas of why or how, instead of taking the concepts off and see what comes out naturally and spontaneously, what's your next thought going to be?
I'll only know if I think about it.
Yeah.
The question that arose here was, is it consciousness that is the first part of that separation?
Awareness is the absolute, and consciousness comes upon awareness, or awareness becomes conscious, and knowing and things form in it. You're not unaware right now. And then the consciousness comes, I'm aware of this or I'm aware of that. So awareness is prior to the consciousness. When you're in deep sleep, that awareness is there. And if you wake up in the morning and say, I slept well, how would you know? There was an awareness of your unawareness there.
Yeah, just listening to your talk earlier, there's awareness and there's nothing particular. It's all.
It is
all
life
one.
itself.
Yeah.
And then there'll be something will arise, a form of consciousness, and then you might go off on that track. And what also arose was, thou shalt have no other gods before me. So that pure awareness, that pure being, is something substitutes that, and then you lose the bliss of the absolute.
You can't lose the absolute.
And then we sort of trade that for something that's separated, and it's much more. It's quite a trick, isn't it?
Brilliant, isn't it? And there is a comment we have here from Bradley. Consciousness loves to be. It wants to continue, so it will instantly act to further its continuance, or not. Beautiful summary. Yes, everything that rises will fall. Everything's transient. So no matter how much of the self-preservation is there, it doesn't assert any permanence of anything. Everything changes, and life changes in a way that is greatly intelligent, is self-organizing. It creates the obstacles like climate destruction, and it creates solution. Or maybe it doesn't. Whichever way the life will flow spontaneously is, like Bob sometimes says, nothing's going to be lost. Even if the planet will blow into a million pieces of dust, that is, nothing's going to be lost. It's just eternal change.
It'll still all be in space. Not in the same pattern and form, it is.
And it's never the same pattern and form. It's changing. Bob also says sometimes it changes as you walked into this room. Your body, thousands of cells are already replaced. The old one died and the new one have been formed. Not to mention exchanging the breath, the air, all the inner processes of which we can't even tell what they are. The electrical signals here in that projector, and all the chemicals running through. Incredible. It's constantly changing. But what doesn't change? I remember I was looking for that quote from some of the evangelic quotes that I used to like. I couldn't find it, and even ChatGPT couldn't help me, but there is a lady from the other side of the world that actually did. She brought it back. It's from Thomas, and I hope I'll quote it correctly. Looking for that presence, or Jesus looking for God, saying, split the wood, and you find me there. Turn the stone, and there I am as well. So it is that presence, that existence is everywhere. Every particle of dust, every piece of a dead cell that has been replaced. That presence, that existence, showing up in so many different ways, but yet one in essence. 10,000 things in a way that essence vibrates into sound, sights, matter, but one in essence.
In Kavish's song, I'll meet you there. There is a field.
The Shakespeare quote, I think, if if I'm quoting it correctly, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Is that correct? Yeah, I have some interesting reflections or thoughts around this that in some sense have kind of confused me for some time, and it's, I guess, that it seems as though a lot of suffering comes from the mind, or, you know, our experience of mental constructs, and there's a lot of suffering that comes from that. And it seems like from the non-dual perspective, it would almost appear to me as though separating oneself or not engaging so much in this mental construct is a path to peace or freedom. Yeah, I'm curious, because when I think of good or bad only existing within a mental construct, I think, well, it makes me think about morality, and it makes me think of like what is good and what is bad, and harming others and harming oneself. And then I think about the animal kingdom, and how, you know, animals will naturally kill or harm or prey on other animals, you know, without that same sense of consciousness or awareness that human beings have. And in some sense I look at that and I can't see the animal's actions of killing others as bad or as evil, because that's their nature. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but long story short is I still find myself questioning, and there's some confusion there as to, you know, is morality a mental construct, and is morality only coming from the mind? Because it seems like these teachings that in some sense have this aspect of no mind, how can morality come from that? Is morality a mental construct? And yeah, just some thoughts on that maybe.
Beautiful. Beautiful insight.
Oh, one more thing. Yeah. But then I think even without the mind, I feel like I experience some sense, or I touch on sometimes, a sense of pure awareness that seems to be connected to pure love and compassion and selflessness. And so then I think that perhaps there is some sense of love or kindness or giving that can come from the no mind. Anyway.
Beautiful.
No mind, there can be no division.
Sorry?
With no mind, there can be no division. Like, and if there wasn't good, could there be bad? If it wasn't bad, could there be good? If it wasn't winter, could there be summer? So, you know, the words, the labels we put on them, it's seemingly divine, it's still only the one essence.
And morality is certainly a creation of the narrative mind, but the narrative mind is a creation of life. It is all the same one life. So in that society of humans who connect through stories, life self-organizes in a way of creating whatever is required. Because yes, we are so indulging in the narrative rather than being present with what happened, eating when we are hungry like animals, and killing for the food, whether you are killing a carrot or lettuce, or whether you are killing a duck. It's still, there is no malice in feeding the body, because there is loving to be, so the body needs to be fed. But yes, when you look at the narrative that creates the sense of separation, that creates the sense of deficiency. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, these guys, they have more than I do. Or maybe I can gather some friends or some power and take it from them and add to myself. The jealousy, the hatred, the grief, the anger, all that stuff comes from the narrative. If that one is seen true, now that natural joy and serenity, if there is a sense of completeness, if there is no sense of inferiority, if there is no one inferior or superior to me, I don't need to be jealous about anything. I don't need to want anything that someone else has. And I'm happy and I'm complete. In that joy and happiness and in completeness, I'll naturally radiate compassion. I'll naturally rather have people around me also happy and complete, rather than miserable and jealous and angry. So that is where recognizing the function of the mind and not buying into whatever the narrative says is the liberation from psychological suffering. But the place for the morality, for ethics, for all of that which comes with philosophical system or religious systems, they also are here because they show up in the awareness. That's also a beautiful masterpiece of life, like music, like everything. When there is a need, even the morality which says, if you don't do as I say, you will go to hell and you will burn forever and ever until the end of time, and the devils will come and grasp you. Even that type of a morality is a creation of that life self-organizing. There are people who actually don't really understand, or are incapable, or don't have any other chance to get socialized and preserve in that setting that life has intended. So all those things show up, and all those things are part of the brilliance of life. But once you see the truth of the narrative, you don't have to believe that this is the right thing to do or this is the wrong thing to do, because if I do this, I'll go to heaven. If I do this, or I will get out of samsara and won't, all that blah blah is actually not necessary anymore. And the natural goodness coming out from the sense of completeness is shared, because there's nothing else to share. So yes, morality can kind of become redundant then, or it becomes just recognized for what it is. Just a beautiful story that intends for goodness. Thank you for the question. And don't we all love the goodness? That is, again, a natural inclination. The loving to be is the love for goodness, is the love for pleasure, is the love for fulfilledness, is the love for love. That is just a part of the instinct that in duality everything is divided. Everything is good, bad, pleasant, painful. And we have preference for good and for pleasant, because that part of the survival. It will always be there. Every animal, we have a couple of cats, they will always go for the fresh food rather than for the old one. They will come for the pat rather than for a kick. And that's part of the duality. The expression of intelligence, of that oneness, is always dualistic, because there is no pleasure without pain. It can't be known, it can't be recognized. There is no goodness without the evil, without the badness. It wouldn't be recognized. If everything was good, good would be just wiped off. It would disappear from the experiencing. And with it, roughly all of it.
It's all absolute. Nothing can be added to that absolute. Nothing taken away from it. And we divide it by the concepts, thoughts, feelings that come up. Nothing either good or bad, as it says, but thinking makes it so. What happens if you're not thinking about it? Or, as Nisargadatta says, you're dreaming a dream you call the world. Stop looking for ways out. Nothing can control you except your own imagination. Well, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? You see an image or a reflection. You can't say it's not there. Go up and try and get the reflection out of the mirror. You can't say it is there. So that's like all this manifestation. You can't say it's not there, but you can't say it is. So the things that seem to occur are not as they appear to be, really. No thing has ever happened. It's all a dream.
I was thinking about Moses, who set down the 10 Commandments, because I guess everyone was a bit unstructured and a bit wild and crazy, and They needed a little bit of guidance. And they thought it was Moses telling him what to do, but it was the I Am that sent the message. And I guess that was about morality, really, wasn't it? It was a structure.
Well, I wasn't here today.
I thought you were, Bob. You're getting on a bit now.
I am that I am. Yeah.
But I just thought, you know, it's we're living in a dualistic world.
It appears.
It appears that we're living in a dualistic world.
And if it didn't appear, there wasn't the opposite, how could it appear?
Exactly. So I just thought about that story you used to tell about Moses. Yeah.
And then if you look at the whole sociological structures, like the legal system, like taxation system, things that we may not like, things that may put us in a position where, we had to pay a ransom to a mafia, a big one. Situations, otherwise we would lose the home, Bob would be carried away. And legal system allows it because it's full of holes. But intention behind the legal system is always the goodness. It wants to protect the weak. It wants to, like if you see how behind every action and behind every movement, if you know how to look, there is a loving to be. There is the inherent goodness in it. Even the horrible things like big pharma, making money, that's loving to be a little bit maybe too centralized. I don't want to be sued by anyone, but there are situations which kind of seems almost obvious that there is a self-interest rather than the larger goodness for the greater good. But it's still loving to be behind it, like in that quote of Nisargadatta, which says that me and my can be small and limited to just this, or it may explode and embrace the universe. But the love as an action, as a movement, that remains. He even said that when there is nothing, that's wisdom. When I'm nothing, that's wisdom. When there is emptiness, silence, stillness, when there is no expression, that's it. That's the ultimate knowing. But when there is movement, when there is love, he says, when I'm love, I'm everything. Or love is everything. There is 3 or 4 ways of translating that particular quote. So love represents any movement. It represents the vibration, showing in the 10,000 things. Love is everything. Every vibration, every movement is coming out as a loving to be. Suddenly the stillness starts moving, or the field of potentiality starts actualizing itself as a shape and form. It loves to be as a shape and form. That's the only way it can see a reflection of itself, because otherwise the self-knowing, how could that even be possible if there is all there is? So, and then Nisargadatta says, when I'm nothing, this is wisdom. When I'm everything, this is love. And between the two, the life moves, because if there is no movement, there is nothing. Realization, expression, just love, nothing, everything.
Is it yin and yang?
You could say it this way.
Is
totally.
Bob talking about, is it like the Taoist in Chinese? I wanted to say this one thing too. This is something that's like, you know how everything is 2 things but one thing?
Yes.
It's one thing but it's also 2 things.
Yes.
So Chris, my friend Chris, he might not want me to say this, but he calls you Bobcat.
Cool.
It's 2 things but it's one thing. And I wanted to say this: the dual personalities of non-dualities. Anyway, I thought that was captured it.
It is.
They can't be good without bad. Go on.
But, I think, a lot of what you're talking about is contained in the yin-yang symbol.
Yes.
There's always a little bit, you've got the whole.
Yes.
You've got the split into 2. One's dark, one's light, but inside is a little circle of the opposite colour.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing visual representation of what you guys talk about. Even the way that you say one way, Bob, and then Kat sort of explains the same thing but in her way.
Yeah.
So
And lots of
there
others.
you go.
will-
Yeah, beautiful. That's a nice one.
And,
That's a ripper.
lots of others will explain it in their way, which is the same thing too.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me.
And you explained it beautifully too. It shows up through every shape, every form, every pattern. It's the same life. You say something, Dean?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Little. Open your mouth and Father will speak.
No, I don't know. I could talk about anything really, but I could talk about nothing.
Yeah.
Talk about morality, talk about the yin and yang, talk about anything, but like you really don't know. We could talk about like your experience of what appears at this moment, or how Bob expresses a teaching. I don't know. I think I think it's really, really simple, and like you could sum it up by saying by being aware of being aware, and just in that act of just knowing that you're aware, everything like transforms in a sense, because there's no. You're just aware of the awareness that's allowing everything to be, and in that there's no individual me as such, or there might be an appearance of one, but there's an appearance of everything inclusive in that image or that appearance, and it's sort of a miraculous sort of thing, and it just is, and there's no real worries about all questions, all everything just dissolves. Like the issue of morality just dissolves as a vibration of thoughts or ideas in the awareness that's allowing everything to just be. And yeah, it's very sort of simple recognition. There's no more problems that can exist in just the observation of it in its clear, empty way. Just dissolves everything. And then there's just a lot of fucking around. It's just like this one big game of just playing around, and for no real reason. And yeah, that's all for now. Go, Heyman. You say something good. Say something bad.
I have a couple of comments from people who are online with us. So you can think, and when you're ready, the mic goes to you. Bradley says, he who knows does not know. He who does not know knows. Beautiful. The one who understands by conceptualizing does not understand. The one who does not conceptualize understands. Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you. And Laura says, aware of being aware. And Julia reminds us that there is a Zoom meeting tomorrow, and there are Zoom meetings. There's Zoom meetings 3 times a week. So on sailorbobadamson.com/meetings, you will have all the links and information on Zooms. You ready, Heyman?
This better be very good. That was perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how to word this, but so in this illusion, where we exist, and we have all these spiritual doctrines through all these religions and teachers. Are they just all pure concepts again?
All concepts, whether they're pure or not, it doesn't matter.
So it goes back to that question about morality, where you say if the Buddhists have concepts of karma and reincarnation, but again, they're just concepts.
Concepts, yeah. What was born.
But because some spiritual master says something, we tend to be a bit like sheep and follow.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that makes sense or if that's the right.
That's absolutely
thinking.
true, yeah. That's beautiful. The non-duality questions everything. What is actually left when all the concepts are pushed aside, moved out of the way, because that, what is left, is the truth. That's unquestionable reality, which everybody misses out, not everybody, but which is largely ignored, because the attention is trained to follow the images, the thoughts, the concepts. But when that pattern of attention following that images and concepts or creating it by the very act of attending to it, when this one is recognized, there is some sense of relaxing in the background. There is a knowing of the movement of attention, and that knowing is not a concept. That is a different order of things. And that is really the ultimate truth. There is nothing to say about it. There is nothing. Bob doesn't say any philosophy. He may use the pointers from various different traditions, but what he points is totally beyond language.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a comment from, and there was, I see the comment from Claudia, and I just remember that Jorgen was wishing Merry Christmas to us all. And Claudia says, awareness is who we are and is before the mind. Everything arises from awareness, and so it is true, it dissolves what is not true and not real. Yeah, thank you, Claudia. We have another couple of minutes, so
I'll just say thank you very much. I've got no questions and nothing to say.
What a freedom. When you see all the questions drop away, where is the questioner?
Yeah, it's just that idea of like just pointing back at, it's just empty. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. No one who wants to know, but life is there.
I seem to recall there was this married couple that they had a conversation over dinner. A few years have passed, and she said, once we had something that was beautiful and wonderful. What happened to it? And he said, you spent it all.
And Claudia adds to her comment, Merry Christmas as well.
The story, I don't know where it's from, an ancient story. This king of this state, they were putting on a big party for him. And they were setting up, and the chief minister's racing around, putting all the seats in and everything. And this beggar turns up, walks into the room, goes up and sits in the king's seat. And the minister writes him and says, are you
a dignitary?
No, he says, I'm more than that. He says, you were something else.
Minister?
No, he said, I'm more than that. He says, are you the king? No, he says, I'm more than that. Oh, he says, more than that, are you God? He said, No, he says, I'm more than that. He said, more than God? There's nothing more than God. He said, I am that nothing.
Oh, perfect.
He'd sit in the king's chair then. There's nothing.
Good on him.
Good on him. Yeah. So, thank you, everyone. Time for
Thanks,
our
everyone.
Christmas lunch
Thanks,
now.
Bob. Thanks,
If
Kat.
anyone needs a list of